to my first indie sewing PDF pattern video tutorial. Today we're sewing bustier dress with soft cups called Rose Cafe. So we need the main fabric, in my case it's texture tweed with lurex, interfacing to stabilize the main part of the top, lining, ribbon for making straps, also can be sewn from base or other fabric, hidden zipper, and a pack of my PDF patterns you can buy on my Etsy shop, link in bio. Print and cut out the pattern pieces. Cut the top parts of the main fabric, lining and interfacing, and skirt parts of the main fabric and lining only. Make note the grain line and set the pieces that need to be placed on the fold. Apply interfacing to the wrong side of all bodice details. Iron on the stabilizing stay tape along the top edge of each bodice detail. Also, iron on the interfacing to the skirt edges with the zippers going to be sewn in and the bottom hems. Pin the center piece of the bodice with front side pieces together and sew. If you have a plate or stripe fabric, the garment will look better if the stripes in the seams are aligned. The same way, pin back center pieces and back side pieces together and sew. Now the notches, pin and sew the cup center and side pieces together. Pin and stitch the side seams. Pin and stitch the dots, base with temporary stitches at first if you need it. When all parts of the bodice are sewn together, I use overlock or Suede for overhanging to prevent fraying. Also, you can use zigzag stitch for it or skip this step if your fabric does not fray so much. Overlock all the skirt details except top edges with dots. Now, when all seams over top are overlocked, put all seam allowances to the center and top stitch in 5mm from the seams. It is easy to follow the sewing machine footage along the seam. It will be approximately 5mm top stitch. Side seam allowances go to the front center. Do this with the all seam allowances. So do the same with cups. Remember to put the seam allowance to the center piece. Look how our bodies turn out so neat even without ironing. Now we have to stitch the upper detail to our cup, stitch the back skirt seam, leaving the space for the zipper, and stitch the skirt side seams. Stitch upper cup detail to cups, overlock the edges, put allowances to the top, and top stitch as we have done it in the bodice part. Now it's time to sew lining parts. Sew all parts together as we have done it with the main fabric, skipping overlock and top stitching part. Stitch front seams, back seams, side seams, sew cup details together. Also sew the skirt side seams and the back center seam, leaving the space for the zipper. Overlock skirt lining center seam as open seam and the side seams as closed seams. Use overlock on the top edges of the bodice and back center edges if your fabric is fraying. Good job! Now it's time for ironing. Put the lining seam allowances to the centers and press seams close. Do the same with the skirt part. Seam allowances on the skirt go backwards. The back center seam open. Let's prepare the bottom hem at once. Fold 7 mm and press. It will be much easier to fold it for a second time when sewing. It should be looking like that. Also press the cups very slightly. Press all the seams on the skirt open. Fold 3 cm and press the bottom hem. Be careful and rounded areas need the side seams. Finish the hem on the main fabric skirt if you're sure about the dress length. Fold 1 cm on the lining hem and stitch the seam as close as possible to the folded line. That's it. Attach the bodice to the bottom with the right sides. Use pins to match skirt dots with seams and the skirt center notch with the bodice center notch. Notice that the side seams are not lined up in this pattern. Sew parts together and use an overlock. I can show you my way on how to finish an overlock seam. Leave approximately 2 cm and cut the threads. Then quickly untangle the beginning of the chain until you see 2 looper threads that are the longest. Now pull them just like tying a bow until there is a small knot in the end of the seam. Cut the remaining separate threads. As you can see, all body seams are perfectly matching dart seams. Press the seam allowance to the skirt side. If your fabric allows you to iron it on the right side, do it very slightly. Instead of sewing dots on the lining part of the skirt, lay folds from the dart notches. Match the notches at the end of each dart line. Pin them together. Also, pin the fold towards the center. Leave pins in until attaching the bodice to the bottom. Do this with all 4 lining skirt dots. Now we have to attach the lining bodice part to the bottom. I use pins to match the skirt folds with the bodice seams and the skirt center notch with the bodice center notch. Sew the bodice and the skirt together. I stitch from the skirt side to control the folds and their direction. Now we have perfectly matched folds and seams. Overlock and press the seam. I find an approximate dot point and press the fold that should add in this point. It turns out an unstitched dart that can be opened up and the lining will not hold down the hips. Also press the hem, bottom lining and the main dress. Now it's time to install the invisible zipper. I will show you the way how I do it without basting, but you can sew it the way you like. My zipper is too long and needs to be trimmed. Measure and cut your zipper to the appropriate length. Create a new bottom stop by simply hand stitching around the zipper teeth. Heat seal the end of the zipper using lighter. When measure, leave a 2 cm long zipper tail. The zipper bottom stop should be below the stitch back seam starts. Place the glass zipper right side down along the edge. Leave 1 cm from the top edge. Start at the top edge and stitch 5 mm from the zipper teeth on the zipper tail with your usual seaming foot along all the zipper until the back seam starts. Pin the zipper's tape tail on a back seam, matching centers. Mark the waist seam placement on the second zipper side because they should match when the zipper is closed. Pin the second seam edge to the zipper, matching the waist seam with the mark. Stitch the second side from the bottom to the top. I do this step instead of basting. Now put on an invisible zipper hood. Check that the waist seam is matched. Open the zipper and put the zipper slider under the back seam. That's why you should leave a 2 cm zipper tail and sew the zipper until the back seam, not a zipper stop. Start at the top edge and stitch in place until the foot reaches the back seam start. Do the same with the second side. Now release the zipper slider through the small remaining hole and close the zipper. Stitch the zipper tail tape to the back seam allowances. Press the zipper. Now we have a perfect area where the zipper ends without any holes and crease. We have 4 straps out of ribbon, 55 cm each. You can do longer straps to have bigger bows. Straps go from the dress with a small angle, so cut the ribbon corner to form this angle. It's approximately 5 mm to cut. Heat seal cut ends. Straps matching to seams on the back. Do a stitch here. Attach the lining to the main dress. Pin along the top edge all over the bodice, including under bust rounded edges. Match all seams and centers. Stitch 1 cm along the top edge. Cut 4 corners very carefully. Cut the rounded cap seam allowances within every 15 mm. Turn out the bodice and understitch the lining as far as possible to keep it from rolling towards the outside. Also understitch the round underbust areas as far as possible. Yes, it's not that easy, I know. Turn out completely and turn out the corners very carefully. This should be as sharp as possible. Press the top so that the lining is not visible from the outside. If you have done everything right, you should have something like this. Very symmetric and sharp corners. Open the zipper. Turn inside out as it's shown. Flip the lining over from the top. Put a zipper foot or position your needle as close to the zipper teeth as possible. Sew down the lining along the zipper teeth. Leave approximately 1 cm before the back seam starts. Do the same with the second side. Press the lining. Turn inside as it's shown and attach the lining waist seam allowance to the main dress waist seam allowance. Attach straps to the cups as we have done it previously. Put the lining to the cup right sides together and sew down the top edges and then understitch. Fold the lining inside and pin down so that the lining isn't visible from the right side. Make sure that the lining is not bigger than the cup, it will be, and cut off 2 or 3 millimeters from the bottom of the lining. Stitch 5 mm along the bottom of the cup to attach the lining completely. Overlock from the wrong side. I will close the seam with an underwire channeling, but it'll be okay also if the seam is still visible. Iron the cup. Do not press it all over, very carefully from the sides. Use the underwire channeling along the bottom of the cup. Stitch it along the top edge of the tunnel. I won't put the underwire here, it's for decoration purposes. Here we are. Now the most important task awaits us. We have the stitch that is visible from the right side of the cup. To help yourself, you can stitch it once more with contrasting color upper thread and bigger stitch length. We have to attach the cup to the bodice so that the rounded edge of the bodice overlaps the contrasting thread by exactly 1 mm. It is safer to baste it. Match the cup center seam with the seam on the bodice. Line up the cup sides with the bodice corners. Top stitch 1 mm along the edge. Top stitch from the wrong side along the bottom edge of the underwire channeling. If you don't have this channeling, top stitch cup line from the right side, 5 mm from the seam. Yeah, that's it. We have to iron it and stitch tiny zigzag on the ends of the channeling. And And that's the result. The invisible zipper is truly invisible. Also, you can use the button to sew the bustier top only. It's fitting time! This dress can be worn with every blouse or t-shirt you like, or alone as a body dress. Thank you for watching, subscribe to my Instagram and stay tuned for new fancy patterns.